Hey, there you are. All right.
Oh!
What?
Are you okay?
No, I'm dead. You shot me in the face. What's up, everybody? My name's Spooky Deer. Trying something a little different with the video this week. I play a lot of games on my Twitch stream, and then I often don't talk about them ever again. So I've been wanting to get into game reviews for a while, and I figured this is as good a time as any to talk about things that I like, things that I don't like. You know, honestly, even if it's just a game that I think is worth streaming, can you make good content with it? Things that I hope to change in a lot of these early access games that I play is I do play a lot of games because I chronically don't complete games. I just play them for 3 streams and then I move on to the new thing that's shiny. So hope you enjoy the new style. If you do, drop a like down below. It does help me. It helps me make sure that I'm spending my time on the right things. And really, I'm just experimenting with this whole YouTube thing anyway. Regardless, I hope you enjoy. Let's talk about some Ground Branch. Ground Branch is an early access military sim tactical shooter. It's part of this new era of more grounded, immersive first-person shooters like Escape from Tarkov, Ready or Not, Zero Hour, and countless others. I picked up Ground Branch after keeping my eye on it for a while because I was craving a tactical shooter that had more PvE-focused options, something that would help me embody the classic Rainbow Six terrorist hunt of my youth. Ground Branch finds this cool line with being very PvE combat focused and having a really good drop-in, drop-out co-op system, and essentially recreate the old school terrorist hunt like we talked about. Now, there are a lot of things that I think Ground Branch does well, and a lot of things that I think are really unique about it. Later on in the video, I'm gonna have some gripes and some things that I hope will change. This game is in early access, so there is a lot of potential for the things that I comment on in this video to no longer be relevant 6 months down the line. There is a lot of potential in this game. I've enjoyed it quite a lot. Now, some of the most unique things about Ground Branch come down to the level of customization that's available to you right out of the gate. Their weapon customization system is one of the more unique I've seen in a shooter ever. But I really like this rail placement system that they have where you can set a scope anywhere along your gun that you want. Will it work well? Maybe not. Something that I wish was a little different about this is seeing what the benefits or disadvantages of certain placement locations would be, other than the obvious of if you put a scope too close to your face, it's gonna be clipping through your character's head and it's gonna be really hard to use. The system is very, very cool, and I love how granular you can get with it. And then you also have a lot of options with soldier customization. Lots of changes with uniforms. You can set up your vests and plate carriers with how much ammunition you want to carry for specific weapons, different pockets for different grenades, whether it's flashbangs, frags, smoke grenades. You can really get that loadout customized to your heart's content. Again, I am not sure how in-depth or useful a lot of this is, but it does look very cool, even if it's not relaying into direct gameplay benefits or disadvantages at this point. I know in the future that they are planning to add actual weights and different effects that body armor provides. At this point, everything is purely cosmetic, but this is something that the developers have mentioned is going to change. Right now, it's kind of like playing G.I. Joe dress up. Again, very fun, very cool, but not much depth other than surface level at this point. Now, in Ground Branch, there are a lot of things that I like. One, the heavy PvE focus, being able to set up terrorist hunts with anywhere from 1 to 50 enemies on a map is insane, and that can get very, very challenging. There's a really cool and unique movement system with the gunplay in this game as well. You're able to take your weapons from a low ready stance, a hip fire stance, and a high ready stance. This can keep you from flagging your teammates. All right.
Oh!
What? As you're working through different situations. And I find that to be really, really interesting, and it'll determine how quickly you can bring your weapon on to bear when you're encountering enemies. So really like that touch. Another thing that I really enjoy is just this huge variety of maps. Not only are there a ton of different maps, they can vary in size and scale. Even some of the maps have sub options where you can trim down the amount of space in the play area so you can have faster gunfights if you want, or if you want to have a larger, more open area to explore around and try to track down the enemies that you've spawned onto the map. Weapons are also very punchy, well modeled. They really feel like they've got power behind them, in large part due to the sound design, as well as just this style of game that this is. It'll only take a couple rounds to drop any of the enemies that you encounter. I like knowing that, you know, one bullet can make the difference, and the same goes for your character as well. The co-op is great. You can bring in a ton of people and just go purely PvE. Like I said in the intro, I'm not going to be focusing on the PvP multiplayer. It's just not something that interests me, so I haven't touched it, so I have no opinion. For those that do enjoy it, I think that it would offer some really cool tactical options, and it might be an answer to some of the gripes that I currently have that we'll get into in just a little bit. But truly, most of what I love about Ground Branch at this point is just really, it captures that old school terrorist hunt vibe. One of my favorite games growing up was Rainbow Six Vegas 2, and that was just a blast to play with a friend working through co-op. So for me, it really scratches that itch of a game that I've been looking for. I'm happy to see that again in a new game in 2022. All right, we do have to move on to the gripes though. This game is in early access. I know that's a full disclaimer. A lot of this is subject to change if you're watching this video 6 months from now. Fingers crossed, a lot of the stuff that I'm a little less than pleased with may have been addressed. The developers have done a really good job of communicating about the changes that they're expecting to come through. So I have a lot of faith that these things that I'm taking issue with will be solved in the future. Currently, one of the things that I think frustrates me, because I do play this as a solely PvE game, is that there are really limited tactical options available for you. Enemies will essentially, once they're alerted, will just kite to you in huge chunks. You know, you kill one guy, all of a sudden all their friends are like, hey, what was that? And they'll start running to where you're standing, and you can just pile them up in a doorway as they keep running in. You just keep shooting and reloading, and that takes away some of the benefits of some of these more unique items that Ground Branch offers. You have breaching charges to blow open doors. I have never once found a use for that because enemies will not stay in rooms once they've been alerted. Smoke grenades, I haven't really found a use for either, because again, there's no fields of fire that you're needing to mask yourself from because the enemies are running to you at this point. So something that I'd love to see is having that enemy AI continue to get improved, let them behave more intelligently, maybe not have all of them run super aggressively to fight with you. I'd love to have them hold rooms or hold strong points so that some of these tactical options that have been presented to you as items in the game actually have a use case. We mentioned this earlier, the customization in the game right now, I feel is lacking a pretty significant amount of depth. The lack of depth is disappointing, but I think also in the works to be changed. So I'd love to see, you know, at least some idea of what I'm improving or not improving for myself based off of the number of attachments that I place onto my weapon, the location that I choose to put them in, since we have this really granular sliding scale of where they'll fit on the gun. I also feel like a lot of the customization options don't currently present a use case. There's a lot of extra rails and everything that you can slap onto the different weapon platforms, but they don't appear to offer anything, at least to my knowledge. If you're more experienced with this game and you have some ideas for what these different rails can be used for and how they're actually useful in a gameplay sense, please let me know, because I am curious. I've played a fair amount of this game, but there's obviously things that I just don't know. But certain attachments to me do seem very superfluous. A lot of the rails, lights, some of the scopes, like I feel like there's just a few favorable items that everyone is going to gravitate towards, and the rest is kind of in there as fluff. I'd like there to be a clearer distinction of what's useful or what has drawbacks. Additionally, and this is just me memeing, I'd like to make some real cursed guns, things that have no rhyme or reason to exist. You think of games like Escape from Tarkov where you can put 8 flashlights on one gun. Let me do that, Ground Branch. Let me make the sun cannon. Let me blind people with just a ridiculous amount of attachments. Let me do it. You know, if you put one flashlight on right now, that's all you're allowed to do. I'd like to do more. Currently, and this is something that they have addressed, will be fixed in the next update, night vision is bad. Night vision is not fun to use right now, so I have just defaulted to playing during the daytime. It's that classic green filter, and we'll try to have some gameplay of that now so you can see what it looks like. I think they are intending to make this look significantly better and a lot more immersive. This is a minor gripe, and this is probably because I'm an idiot. The ready room situation is super cool and very immersive. I like that you can go, you can customize your weapon, you can look at a map of the arena that you're gonna go and do a mission in. It took me a lot of time and a lot of Googling to learn how to launch a mission. For me, it was not obvious how to launch from the ready room board. And I spent a long time figuring out that you can actually click on that board from your first person perspective in the game. Again, Very immersive, but a little bit more signposting, maybe a little animation of your character pointing at maybe where you're going to choose to spawn in would be very useful. It's a thought. I don't know how refined it is, but it would be something that would make it a bit more obvious that you can interact with some of these boards. And finally, and this is another small thing, I would love more detailed post-round breakdowns. Right now, it'll tell you the number of shots you fired, your general accuracy, and how many kills you scored. I'd love to see heat maps of where the heaviest combat ended up being, even something like a silhouette of a man, and you can see where the majority of your shots hit. I'd like to see where the placement of those shots are ending up, so maybe I can use that to get better at clicking on heads, things like that. Now, earlier I complimented the number and variety of maps. I hold true to that. These are very, very cool and well-designed maps, but I do find some of them to be rather large and complex, particularly the freight ship. I spent more time being lost on than I did finding enemies. I would love for there to be a way to either like leave yourself some breadcrumbs in game so you can find your way back from where you've been. I think like dropping glow sticks potentially, you know, some means of easing navigation, especially in these more dense and really interesting maps. I need some way to hold my own hand. And right now there's not really a means of doing that. And this could actually go into one of my other things. I'd love to see an expansion of the in-game tablet functionality. Right now you can just kind of open it up and see an overview of the map and basically where your character is on it. Maybe let there be a map-based ping system, so if your teammates are pulling up their tablet, they can see what you've pinged as well. So it's not an on-screen indicator, it's not breaking immersion in that way, but it'll allow you to communicate a bit more in-depth. All right, now let's talk about streamability. If you're new to this channel, you might not be aware that I do stream every Tuesday and Thursday night on Twitch, and I also like talking about content creation ideas in general. So whenever I'm looking at getting a new game, I'm always weighing the options of, is this gonna have longevity for me? Is this gonna help me make better content? How will this do on my stream? So let's talk about how Ground Branch works in that situation. For me, Ground Branch is a little bit of a mixed bag when it comes to streaming. It's super fun to play with people, so it makes for really good co-stream content. And funny, out of the blue things can happen as well. It's the beauty of having other people involved in your game. Changeable parameters and variety of scenarios can keep the content fresh. You can make a lot of unique setups that I think you can also engage chat with. Like, hey, should I go in at night? How many enemies should we do? What gun should I use? What attachment should I put on? You can give your community a lot of freedom in determining what you do and how that stream is going. You know, previous gripes obviously are gonna come into play, and especially the AI system right now as it stands. Because the AI is not super dynamic and not super intelligent, that does cut down on some of the potential for good content to happen. If enemies just keep running at you, the game eventually becomes a shooting gallery, and that is not fun to watch for a long period of time, at least in my opinion. Another issue, and I hate to bring real numbers and metrics into this, but Ground Branch is not a high traffic game on Twitch right now. It's not the end of the world. It does fit a niche as far as being a milsim and attack shooter, but you're not gonna be striking gold discoverability wise going into this category on Twitch. I expect to see this ebb and flow, but for right now, it's, you know, it's pretty empty over there. And then this is another interesting one, and this will probably depend on what your personal vibe as a creator is. For me, I'm a chatty streamer. I like to interact with chat first and play the game second. So when it comes into these kind of high intensity moments, it demands a lot of my attention as well. So that does distract me sometimes from keeping up with chat, you know, maintaining conversations and keeping those kind of things going. For me, it's a bit of a downside, but you know, that'll vary based off of, you know, how you choose to interact with your community. All right, so what are my final thoughts on Ground Branch? I think it has a lot of potential, especially as this continues its way through early access and it gets more updates. I love the idea of this game. I love the unique take that it has on terrorist hunt and PvE gameplay. Ground Branch is fun for a couple occasional hours, especially if you're just looking to spend some time with your buddies, but it doesn't hold up for very long if you're playing solo. I also don't think it's particularly streamable, but right now, that's where I'm landing on it. Ground Branch, it's good, it's fun, but there's not a lot of longevity to it. It needs some serious improvements before it's gonna be able to truly shine, especially, hello cat. Hello cat, what do you think? You interrupted that take. You interrupted that take. All right, so like I mentioned, this is a totally new type of video that we are gonna try making on this channel. I have always wanted to try my hand at game reviews, so I'd love to know your thoughts about how this went. I'm really just looking for feedback, seeing if I'm doing something that is useful. So please leave me a comment down below. What did you like? What did you not like? And maybe you're just looking to move on to the next video. If you look over here, I will have some other stuff that I've made that you can link to. Click on that. Probably be just the newest thing that I've made. Or if you want to look over here, YouTube's going to recommend something for you to watch as well. Clicking any of that, I think, also helps me. Algorithm's weird. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed your time. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. Be good, be careful, be good and careful, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.